you visited the Manchester City Academy this week.
Yeah.
Tell us what you saw.
No, it was an absolutely incredible experience. You know, it's been a lot spoken about the facilities and the money that Manchester City have spent, but that wasn't what impressed me so much. It was the ethos and the philosophy, and they're fundamental in what they believe. And I think if you want to develop players and develop young players and develop first-team players, you need to have what I've just said about Manchester United, have a style and a true way of playing. And a lot's been said about Guardiola and his style, but underneath that, it's scary. I've seen under-9 split, play out from the back, rotate, play between lines, and for me, that's absolutely incredible.
Can this be done by other clubs?
I think so. I think so. I know that a lot will be said about the money that Manchester City spend, but I think it's about where you spend it. If you're a club, you don't have to play the way that Manchester City do. But I think in terms of developing players, as they're speaking about making profits on players and being run as a business model, I think the only way you can do that is to have a way of playing and stay true to it. And it doesn't matter if you're going to be a long ball team, if you can play out from the back. It's easier for players to have a pathway when they know what they're expected to do. And one of the key things about what they spoke about in terms of their coaching philosophy was they always coach the players why. And I was speaking to Rachel and Ray, how many coaches did we play for as players? They would tell you what to do, but they wouldn't tell you why. And you see Guardiola, the way he coached Sterling in that video that everyone's seen, there's a method behind it. He's not just telling Sterling what to do, he's showing him why. And when you can show a player why something helps them, it's going to make them such a better player.
It's the DNA of Barcelona, and even before Pep Guardiola was around, Chiqui Begiristain and Ferran Soriano came in, and you can see setting the foundations. But it's very important then that whatever happens, you keep that type of manager. We're just talking about chalk and cheese with Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho.
Well, that's always the problem.
You have to get that type of manager to keep that going if you want those under-8s, under-9s to come through to the first team.
You're not guaranteed to do that. You know, with the managers available, sooner or later Guardiola will move on to somewhere different, and then you've got to look at the style of manager who you're going to get in to carry that on.
Which is
and that is hard.
That's why you see a lot of clubs go in terms of their infrastructure and building of clubs. You see sporting and technical directors who actually set, and that's why it's no coincidence that Guardiola chose Manchester City, because Begiristain and Soriano were already there. He already knew that his way of playing would have been developed through the academy and through the system, and that was the way that Manchester City want to go. And what I see at that club now is a club that's going to be a power for not the time that Guardiola is going to be there for the next decade, because they're building, and some of the young players I'm seeing there are absolutely incredible.
Also, for that club, is that it's a one club, and it's really, a lot of teams say this, especially with the men's and the women's, but Man City women's team are so, you know, they've got the same facilities and everything as the men, and I think that is fantastic.
And they have the same, they try and play football in exactly the same way as the men's team, and what that does, it creates a culture where everyone understands their role. You know, if you're a fullback, you know what you're expected, whether you're 15 years old or 35 years old, and then you can judge players, and it also helps your recruitment because you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, definitely.
How difficult is that going to be for the other teams in the league, with Manchester City being so strong in the women's league?
Oh gosh, yeah, wow, it is going to be incredibly difficult, and I think they need to make sure that we need to start building these blocks. Every team that's coming in and having you know, being linked to a men's team, it needs to be the same ethos, the same building in the same way, and having a one-club culture. I think it's really important.
Absolutely. I mean, I know that Arsenal tried to do that as well. Their new facilities they've got down at Howell End is amazing. Sometimes I worry that they pick the kids too young. You know, I still think they've got to have a bit of fun as well. You know,
but do they do it still in a fun way, Liam?
I think pressure. There's a lot of pressure on these kids as well. You know.
Yeah, I think there's a natural pressure. I think there's a natural pressure to make it for kids, from parents, from all different types of things. But I think you can enjoy playing football. You have to enjoy.
Well, I hope
football
they do
to make it. And watching them and the way that they're coached, Manchester City, they're coached to play with the ball. And in terms of developing players and technique, when you have the ball 80% of games from the age of 10 upwards to 18, technically you're going to become a better player. And it's interesting, we spoke about Tottenham and the money that Pochettino spent, but he's one of the few managers that I see with a clear philosophy and way of playing. And the improvements that Dele Alli have made, Harry Kane, pretty much every player in that squad come because he has a consistent ethos and way of playing throughout his team.
So what we're saying is, in both the men's and the women's, the Manchester City could dominate over
unless more clubs go down that route, then I'm worried for the rest of our country in terms of clubs, in terms of their trying to match Manchester City, because they have the money and they have the philosophy.
We might as well all pack up there then.
Well, I mean, you know, you look at Chelsea and it's very difficult for youngsters to break into the first team. How difficult will it be? You almost have to be world class to be breaking into Manchester City's team.
You do. You have to be world class, but they've got 40 players out on loan. They've got 6 players who play for Nat Breda in the Dutch First Division who beat Feyenoord 2-1. And we don't even know, I don't know any of those players' names. So the thing with Chelsea is an interesting comparison because financially they're almost at the same level. But what you're seeing at Chelsea now in terms of their infrastructure, you're seeing sporting directors falling out with the manager. At Manchester City, there's a complete synergy in the way of play, but from the technical director down to Pep Guardiola, down to the under-8s coach. And that's a scary thing to be up against.
But also, if the player is good enough, they're giving them opportunities.
17.
You know, that's what you want to see. If you're a young player at Man City, you've got to look and you say, well, there is an actual opportunity. At other clubs, is there the opportunity to break into the first team? You know, it's questionable.
And Manchester United have the youngsters breaking in, don't they?
Yeah, McTominay, who's come through the ranks. He looks a decent player, very good player. So it's interesting to see Manchester City. All clubs are trying to do the best they can, get that little bit of an advantage on the other club. And if you can start at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, then you know gives you a little bit of a head start. And as Man City at the moment, they're dominating most of the European scene at the moment.